right, y'all. We got one that's gonna be kind of sad, but it looked kind of interesting. Most painful NBA injuries of all time. Let's move the face cam back up here. Just got finished reacting to Cash getting dropped off, so had to move the face cam.
Gordon Hayward. Less than 6 minutes into Boston's season opener, Gordon went up for an alley-oop and everything changed. Mid-air, he collided with LeBron and came down horribly. His left leg twisted under him and his foot pointed in the wrong direction. Trainers rushed in, stabilized his leg in an air cast, and took him out on a stretcher. Right then, it was clear he wasn't coming back anytime soon. The injury was brutal. It dislocated the left ankle and a fractured left tibia, both caused by the awkward landing and rotation. The dislocation involved the talus shifting out of place and the tibia clean break. They relocated the ankle right there on the court before surgery the next day. That operation aimed to realign the tibia and secure the ankle. He missed the entire season. Recovery took more than just physical rehab. He started with comfort foods, even donuts, but eventually focused on rebuilding strength, mobility, and his mindset. His rehab included everything from ankle mobility drills to grip exercises using a bucket of rice. Hayward returned almost 1 year later for the next season opener. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 25 minutes. That comeback took everything he had. Paul George, during a Team USA scrimmage in August of 2014.
This was a nasty injury. This was one thing they talked about with bringing the basketball back, goalposts. Like, bro, oh my goodness.
George went up chasing down a fast break and crashed into the base of the stanchion. His right leg bent unnaturally, and the whole arena knew it was serious. The game stopped, players looked stunned, and the building went completely silent. The damage? A compound fracture to both his tibia and fibula.
Even though PG is a walking meme right now, the fact that he's still playing even after that gruesome injury, that shit's pretty a blessing for real.
It means the bone snapped and pierced through the skin, making it even riskier because of potential infection. He was rushed to the hospital and underwent emergency surgery that same night. Doctors inserted a titanium rod into the tibia and likely used screws to secure the structure. Despite how bad it looked, he was cleared to put weight on the leg by late September. He was shooting jumpers by October, back to full practice by February, and finally returned in April. He dropped 13 points in 15 minutes in his first game.
Returning the same year. Now, not everybody is superhuman, but I truly believe people that are destined to become NBA players, those dudes have a little bit of superhuman in them, bruh. Your leg popped out of your skin and you broke 2 bones and then you returned in the same season? Like, not every person has those type of genetics, bro. Real talk. Like that, NBA players have a different type of genetic build than regular humans, bro.
Back. Over the final 6 games, he averaged nearly 9 points and close to 4 rebounds. Less than a year after one of the worst injuries you'll ever see, he was back. Not just playing, but heading toward an all-star level again. Shaun Livingston. Back in February of 2007, Livingston drove hard to the basket after a missed layup. Mid-air, his body shifted off balance, and when he landed, his left leg collapsed inward. The way it bent, you almost had to look away. His lower leg whipped sideways, and his knee looked completely out of place.
Shaun Livingston's injury is so nasty, you wouldn't even want to see another injury ever, bro.
The damage was shocking. He dislocated his kneecap and tibiofibular joint, tore his ACL, PCL, and...
Do you see how many things he fucked up? That's how bad the injury was.
Located his kneecap and...
Dislocated kneecap?
Tibiofibular joint.
Tibiofibular.
Tore his ACL, PCL, and lateral meniscus.
Bro. That leg was fried, baked, cooked, deep fried, sat out in the sun because it was so hot. That's how fried his leg was. Oh my goodness. But like I said, he came back and played such a key role in our championship run and played a beautiful role in Golden State. And we love Shaun Mid-Range God Livingston.
And severely sprained his MCL. Doctors were even checking to make sure he wouldn't lose the leg entirely. Blood flow issues could have led to amputation if it had gone worse. He couldn't have surgery until the swelling went down, which meant 2 weeks of waiting, and that caused major muscle loss. His thigh shrank drastically. Recovery was long, over 18 months. and just bending his knee in rehab brought pain that forced him to grit through it every single day. He returned in late 2008 and found new ways to play. He relied on vision, craft, and size. His breakout year came with Brooklyn, then Golden State signed him. From there, 3 championships. That injury didn't end him. It transformed him into a smarter, more resilient.
He used his body and used his mind instead of relying on the athleticism and quickness he had, and he developed the greatest mid-range
player, Nerlens Noel. In January of 2019, during a matchup between Oklahoma City and Minnesota, Noel jumped to contest a dunk from Andrew Wiggins. Mid-air, Wiggins' elbow hit Noel square in the face, and the impact sent him crashing backward. His head slammed against the court, and he didn't move. Trainers rushed in. They stabilized his head and neck right away and brought out the stretcher. The entire arena fell silent as he was taken to OU Medical Center for further evaluation. That night, doctors confirmed it was a concussion. No fractures, but still serious. He stayed overnight for observation and was released the next day, but there was no timeline for return. He had to pass through the league's concussion protocol, which isn't based on a calendar, it's based on symptoms. Wiggins said afterward that he never meant to hurt him and hoped he'd be okay. Teammates were clearly shaken. Terrence Ferguson asked for prayers, and Steven Adams called it a terrible play, but praised how fast the medical staff reacted. Concussions are tough. There's no cast, no crutches, just patience, rest, and hope the symptoms fade. Noel's injury reminded everyone how fast the game can turn dangerous, even without broken bones. Andrew Bogut. In April of 2010, Bogut was on a break and went up for a two-handed dunk. As he descended, Amari gave a slight push from behind, and Bogut lost his balance. He tried grabbing the rim, but the momentum took over. He crashed down, landing hard on his right arm. The result? Brutal. He dislocated his elbow, fractured multiple bones in his hand, including his index finger, and sprained his wrist. Teammates said the elbow was visibly out of place. Trainers rushed in, and he was helped off immediately. That injury ended his season. At the time, he was averaging over 15 points, 10 rebounds, and more than 2 blocks per game. That year, he even earned All-NBA third-team honor. Bogut missed about 7 months recovering. When he returned the next season, he led the league in blocks per game. But the damage had long-term effects. His shooting form never fully came back, and doctors warned it could take years to regain control and precision. He's called it career-changing. It happened just as his...
But guess what happened? All these dudes that got these drastic injuries still made a late comeback with guess who? The Golden State Warriors.
The game was peaking, and it altered the trajectory of everything that followed. That fall didn't just stop a season, it changed the way he played forever. Derrick Rose. In April of 2012, with just over a minute left in Game 1 of the playoffs, Rose drove into the lane, planted on his left leg, and instantly crumpled. He'd been dominating the game. 23 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. But in one jump, everything changed. Trainers came out fast. He couldn't walk. An MRI confirmed the worst, a torn ACL in his left knee. His season ended right there. Surgery followed in May, and he was expected to be out for up to a year. The Bulls lost their leader, and the team's playoff hopes took a massive hit. Rose missed the entire next season. When he came back, he wasn't the
entire. So this is one different when I was talking about NBA players' human DNAs being different. Hey, here's a perfect example of an NBA player with DNA of human DNA being different as far as his athletic ability, his hooping ability was one of one. Derrick Rose was one of one, but he didn't have the healing human ability. Obviously, he healed. Obviously, you heard him. He came back after years, but never the same. Never the same, you know? So, he didn't have a type of career that, like, imagine if Derrick Rose has somewhat of a healing effect like PG and still playing and still having a super like D Rose still had a super long career, but PG like 5 years ago was just in an MVP conversation with the OKC. You feel me? So like Derrick Rose was never in MVP conversations after that injury, and his was only an ACL injury. Like PG stuff was out his skin.
Same.
And he returned in the same season. D Rose missed he missed that season that he was in, and he missed the whole following season. PG came back in the same year.
His explosive speed and athleticism, the traits that made him the youngest MVP ever, were reduced. His shooting efficiency dropped, and so did his drives to the rim. Then came more setbacks, multiple meniscus injuries in both knees.
Yep.
What followed was a long, grinding journey, brief comebacks, emotional moments, and flashes of brilliance. That injury didn't just end a season, it redirected a career. Rose's story shifted from dominance to resilience, and that ACL tear in 2012 was the moment it all pivoted. Jeremy Lin. In October of 2017, during Brooklyn's season opener, Lin drove hard to the basket late in the fourth quarter. He went up for a layup, landed awkwardly, and immediately clutched his right knee. He looked down and said, "I'm done." The pain was obvious, and so was the emotion. The diagnosis? A ruptured patellar tendon in his right knee. It's a rare and serious injury, especially for pro athletes. That tendon connects the kneecap to the shin and is essential for jumping, sprinting, and landing.
Wow, that's tough. And that's probably something that probably takes a minute or a long time to develop and come back. Dang. That right there, ooh.
When it tears completely, the leg loses its ability to extend.
So he was done. I thought he played a little bit after that, didn't he?
Had season-ending surgery and began rehab soon after. Reports early the next year said his recovery was going smoothly. He was rehabbing in Vancouver and already setting goals for his return. Despite the injury, Lin said he didn't want to change his playing style. He just wanted to be smarter, more deliberate, but still aggressive. The Nets lost their starting guard just one game in, and Lin lost an entire season to a freak landing. Patellar tendon ruptures don't just bench a player, they test their mental and physical limits. Lin's fight back was just beginning. Kobe Bryant. On April 12th, 2013, during a tight game against Golden State, Kobe planted his left foot for a crossover, something he'd done a million times, but this time he felt a sharp pop. He thought someone kicked him from behind, but no one had touched him. He had torn his Achilles tendon. Despite the injury, Kobe stayed in the game long enough to sink 2 free throws. Then, he walked off the court on his own. The diagnosis was a full rupture of the Achilles, grade 3. Surgery came the very next day. Doctors gave a 6 to 9 month recovery window, but the road back was brutal. He returned the next season, only to suffer a tibial fracture after 6 games. He never fully got back to his elite form.
I remember he came back and just right on the thing. I was like, no, again. Like, when you saw that, you knew Kobe was like, slowly, it was getting his time.
Over the next 3 years, he played 66, 35, and 6 games before calling it a career in 2016. Achilles tears are notoriously hard to recover from, especially past age 30, but Kobe's grit stood out. That moment, hitting those free throws, walking off hurt, it defined his mindset. The injury changed everything, but it never changed who he was. That was peak Mamba. Rajon Rondo. In Game 3 of the 2011 Eastern Semis, Rondo chased down a loose ball and got tangled with Wade. The fall that followed was ugly. Rondo's left elbow bent the wrong way, dislocated, visibly twisted. He clutched it immediately, grimacing on the floor. Trainers rushed in, stabilized the joint, and helped him off. Most assumed he was done for the night, if not the series. But minutes later, he came back. And then, he actually played the entire fourth quarter. His left arm dangled at his side like dead weight. But somehow, he still scored 4 points, dished an assist, and grabbed a rebound. Imaging later confirmed a full elbow dislocation.
A full elbow? That's a dog. That's a dog, Rondo.
Normally, that means sitting out for 3 to 6 weeks. Instead, Rondo was back out there within minutes. Doctors credited it to a massive adrenaline surge and extreme pain tolerance. But it was still incredibly risky. Swelling, nerve damage, and ligament trauma were all on the table. This wasn't just playing hurt. This was dragging an injured arm into a playoff game and still contributing. It was one of the wildest returns to action you'll ever see, and it came with serious long-term consequences. Steve Nash. In Game 1 of the 2007 Western Semis, Nash collided face-first with Tony Parker while defending late in the fourth quarter. The result? A nasty cut across the bridge of his nose that started bleeding instantly and kept bleeding for the rest of the game. Trainers kept running in to patch him up, but nothing stopped the blood for long. Bandages came off, new ones went on, and Nash just kept playing. He didn't flinch. In fact, at one point, he reportedly reset the nose himself, pushed it back into place right there on the court. It was later confirmed to be a minimally displaced fracture, but Nash downplayed the whole thing, joking that he just rearranged it. Despite blood literally leaking from his face, he stayed in the game and kept leading the offense. No theatrics, just relentless focus. That moment didn't just showcase pain tolerance, it became part of his identity. It was classic Nash, calm, composed, and fully locked in. While it didn't end his season or derail his career, it added to the legend. Sometimes, the most unforgettable injuries aren't the most severe, They're the ones that show what a player's really made of. Victor Oladipo. In January of 2019, during a game against Toronto, Oladipo sprinted back on defense to disrupt a pass. As he planted his right leg, it buckled awkwardly under him. He collapsed instantly, yelling in pain. His kneecap had shifted upward, a clear sign of a quadriceps tendon rupture. He was stretchered off the court, and the MRI confirmed it. The tendon connecting his thigh muscles to the top of his kneecap had torn completely. This injury
so he got almost the same thing.
Is rare in younger athletes and is considered more debilitating than an ACL tear. Without the tendon, the leg can't extend. It just gives out. He underwent surgery shortly after, where the tendon was reattached to the patella using anchors. Rehab started with weeks of immobilization before moving into strength and mobility work. His season was done, and most of the next one too. Oladipo returned nearly a year later. That stretch of time brought a lot of emotional weight. Watching his team's playoff run from the sidelines changed his perspective. He said the injury deepened his love for the game and his appreciation for what it meant to compete. It wasn't just physical recovery, it was a mental reset too. Zach LaVine. On February 3rd, 2017, during a regular season game against Detroit, LaVine planted his left foot while cutting near the baseline. No dramatic contact, no big fall, just a sharp move, and the knee buckled under him. He didn't crash hard, but he left the court right after. Something was clearly wrong. An MRI confirmed what no athlete wants to hear: torn ACL in the left knee. That ended his season immediately. LaVine had been having a breakout year, averaging nearly 19 points per game. It was his third season, and his trajectory looked sky high until that single landing changed everything. The play itself was deceptively simple: a fast cut, airborne movement, a twist on the plant, and the ligament gave out. It's a textbook example of how non-contact ACL tears can strike without warning. No collisions, just the body moving faster than the joint can handle. LaVine underwent surgery and began the long rehab. He stayed optimistic, calling it a minor setback, and in time, he proved it. He came back strong, worked his way back to full speed, and eventually reached all-star level, turning a brutal moment into a comeback story worth remembering. Yao Ming. In Game 4 of the 2009 Western Semis, Yao was seen limping heavily in the fourth quarter. His foot was visibly swelling, and though he tried to play through it, he hobbled off late in the game. Something was clearly wrong. After the game, imaging confirmed a hairline fracture in his left foot, specifically in the tarsal navicular bone. That's a key midfoot bone that takes a ton of pressure during movement. The injury ruled him out for the rest of the playoff. Unlike other fractures, it wasn't operated on immediately. Doctors hoped it would heal naturally over 8 to 12 weeks. But healing didn't go as planned. The fracture worsened, and in the offseason, Yao finally underwent surgery. It wasn't his first foot problem, and it wouldn't be the last. That fracture was a turning point. It led to more setback and was one of the biggest factors in his early retirement. The Rockets even received a roster exception for his absence, and Yao, he later admitted the foot issues drained his focus and slowed his game. That limp in 2009 was more than pain. It was the beginning of the end for one of the league's most unique stars, Anderson Varejão. On January 6, 2011, during a simple practice drill, Varejão planted his foot, touched the sideline, and his knee buckled. No contact, no wild movement, just a sudden misstep, and that was it. He tore the peroneus longus tendon in his right foot. That tendon is crucial for lateral stability and ankle control, especially in a player known for quick reactions and relentless energy. The diagnosis came fast, and the verdict was clear: season ending. Surgery was scheduled for February 12th, and rehab was expected to take around 3 to 4 months. Varejão had been averaging over 9 points and nearly 10 rebounds a game. He was the defensive anchor, the guy doing all the dirty work. Coach Byron Scott called him the best player on the team at the time. And with LeBron already gone, losing Varejão made things worse for a team already in a brutal slump. The injury wasn't flashy. There was no dramatic fall, but it showed just how fragile things can be, even for a player built on hustle and durability. One misstep, one plant gone wrong, and a team's core can be ripped away. That's how fast it can happen. Derrick Jones Jr. On August 14th, 2020, in a seeding game against Indiana, Jones collided hard with a screen set by Goga Bitadze. He was trying to maneuver around it when his neck and shoulder took the full impact. Immediately after the hit, Jones collapsed, face down, and didn't get up. Medical staff rushed over. He stayed still for several minutes, covering the back of his head with one hand. Trainers fitted him with a neck brace and carefully strapped him to a stretcher. The entire court went silent. It was a frightening scene. He was taken off for evaluation.
I think you said the entire... Wait, was this 20... Oh, this might have been 2021, because I was like, they didn't have no crowds.
The scans, MRI, CT, and concussion tests confirmed a neck strain. Thankfully, there were no fractures and no signs of nerve damage. While on the court, he moved his arms and legs.
I don't see no injuries, bro. Tyreek Hill injury has given me PTSD.
Even tapping his toes. An early relief sign for everyone watching. Jones said afterward that he was sore but could move freely. Head coach Erik Spoelstra noted he was already improving by that evening. It looked scary, but it wasn't catastrophic. This wasn't a contact play gone wrong. It was a reminder that even screens can be dangerous. And in a bubble, with no crowd, that silence hit different. Patrick McCaw, on March 31st, 2018, during a game in Sacramento, McCaw went up for a dunk and clipped Vince Carter's shoulder midair. The contact sent him spiraling off balance. He crashed hard on his...
That shit, I was watching this game, and I remember everybody was talking, trying to get on Vince Carter for him collapsing under him, coming under him and stuff like that, and it's like... Vince Carter it just was an acting play, bro. Like, I don't know. Vince Carter to me wasn't dirty for that. And a lot of people was trashing Vince's name, and that wasn't right, in my opinion.
His lower back and didn't move. 10 minutes passed with him lying face down as silence took over the arena. Medical staff immediately stabilized his neck and spine, placed him on a stretcher, and wheeled him off. Teammates gathered in prayer. Coach Steve Kerr called it the scariest thing he'd ever seen on a basketball floor. Scans at UC Davis Medical Center ruled out fractures and spinal damage. The official diagnosis was a lumbar spine contusion.
I don't even know what that means, but anything to do with this right here is very, very scary.
A deep bruise on the lower back. Though it wasn't a break, the pain was severe. He struggled to sleep, moved slowly, and stayed out for weeks. McCaw expressed thanks to fans and to Carter, saying he knew there was no bad intent. His recovery took time, and the emotional toll was real. That moment wasn't about stats or impact plays. It was about stillness, fear, and gratitude. And it reminded everyone how quickly a routine move can turn into a frightening fall. Andrew Bynum, January 13, 2008. Early in the third quarter against the Grizzlies, Bynum leapt for a rebound, but as he came down, he landed awkwardly on Lamar Odom's foot. His left knee twisted, and the pain hit instantly. It was later diagnosed as a partial dislocation of the left kneecap, along with a bone bruise. That means the patella slipped out of its groove momentarily, then popped back in, causing trauma to the surrounding cartilage and bone. The Lakers initially estimated about 8 weeks of recovery, but things dragged. He ended up missing 46 games, including the entire postseason. In May, Bynum underwent arthroscopic surgery to smooth out cartilage damage behind the kneecap. It was a cleanup operation, but one that marked the beginning of a longer trend for him. Repeated knee issues, inconsistent comebacks. His injury reshaped the Lakers' season. Within weeks, they traded for Pau Gasol, a move that ultimately helped lead the team to 3 straight NBA Finals appearances. But for Bynum, that kneecap moment was more than a setback. It was a turning point. Rudy Gay, February 15th, 2011. In a regular season game against Philadelphia, Gay took a hit to the left shoulder. It didn't look catastrophic in the moment, but beneath the surface, something had shifted. The diagnosis? A shoulder subluxation, a partial dislocation.
A what?
Where the ball of the shoulder joint slips out of alignment, then returned. It's not a full dislocation.
Slipped out and then came back.
But it's still serious, especially for a player who lives above the rim and relies on that shoulder to shoot, pass, and defend. Initially, the Grizzlies hoped rest and rehab would be enough, but by
rest and rehab for something that popped out and then popped back in, no. It don't work like that.
On March 22nd, the team announced Gay would undergo season-ending surgery. The procedure was meant to stabilize the joint and prevent future dislocations. It was performed later that month, shutting down what had been a breakout year. At the time of the injury, Gay was averaging nearly 20 points per game, playing at an all-star level. His absence loomed large as the Grizzlies made a surprise playoff run without him, knocking off the top-seeded Spurs, but always missing their best wing scorer. This wasn't a headline-grabbing fall. There was no stretcher, no screaming, just a joint slipping slightly, but enough to derail a season. And in a league where rhythm is everything, that subluxation hit pause on Rudy Gay's momentum. Chris Paul. During the 2-2 series back in 2016, Chris Paul was guarding Gerald Henderson in the third quarter when he reached out with his right hand to swipe the ball. That twisty contact against Henderson's back caused a fracture in the third metacarpal of his shooting hand. Not ideal. Paul had already racked up 16 points and 4 assists in 25 minutes, but that was all he'd get. With just over 6 minutes left in the third, he left the game, clearly furious. He even kicked a seat cushion on his way to the locker room, which honestly said everything. The medical call was a fractured third metacarpal. Not some mild tweak, this was serious. Doctors expected surgery, and recovery would probably take anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. Head coach Doc Rivers was blunt, saying it didn't look good for Paul. He was right. The Clippers didn't just lose their star point guard, they lost their shot. With Blake Griffin also hurt, the team collapsed and got bounced in 6 games. That hand fracture wasn't just an injury. It ripped the foundation out from under the Clippers' playoff run and left a bitter mark on the team's postseason history. Baron Davis. In Game 4 of the 2012 playoffs, Davis was sprinting during a fast break when his right knee suddenly gave out. He crumpled to the floor in visible pain, and for a few minutes, didn't move. The energy in Madison Square Garden completely shifted. Teammates looked rattled. Opponents were frozen. Trainers rushed out while the crowd watched in silence. After being stabilized, Davis waved as he was stretchered off, but the damage was already done. It wasn't just a bad fall. The MRI results showed a full disaster. His kneecap was dislocated, and he'd torn his anterior cruciate ligament, medial
cruciate ligament, medial collateral
ligament, and part of his
the knee was done. We love BD, man. He is a Bay Area legend, man. He was hooping.
Patellar tendon. 1, 2, 3 major structures all gone in one moment. That's a year off the court minimum. At age 33, with a long injury history behind him, this wasn't just a setback. It felt like a final curtain call. His coach praised his leadership. The Knicks were already struggling, but losing Davis like that crushed morale. It was a moment that didn't just shake the roster. It marked the end of a career that deserved a better send-off. Kendrick Perkins. In Game 6 of the 2010 Finals, Perkins went up for a rebound and landed awkwardly after getting tangled between Andrew Bynum and Kobe Bryant. Right away, he grabbed at his right knee and stayed on the floor, clearly in pain. The Celtics bench and crowd fell silent. Early reports said it was a sprain, but that didn't last long. Scans confirmed he tore both the medial collateral ligament and the posterior cruciate ligament. Just like that, he was ruled out for Game 7. Roughly 4 weeks later, he had arthroscopic surgery to fix the damage. The surgeons also found they needed to reconstruct his anterior cruciate ligament. That made the expected recovery stretch out to about 6 months. Not only was he done for the finals, but he'd also miss a chunk of the next season. The Celtics tried to fill the gap with Glenn Davis and Rasheed Wallace, but losing Perkins' defense and rebounding threw off their rhythm. The Lakers pushed to a Game 7 and took the title. That one injury completely flipped the series. It didn't just hurt Boston's paint presence, it broke the spine of their momentum at the worst time possible. Kenyon Martin. In the season opener, Martin went up to block a shot from Latrell Sprewell and landed directly on Sprewell's foot. His left ankle twisted backward toward the basket, and the moment he hit the ground, you could tell it wasn't just a tweak. He slammed the court in frustration, not just from the pain, but from knowing something had gone wrong. Teammates Aaron Williams and Brian Scalabrine helped carry him off as medical staff rushed over. X-rays came back negative, which ruled out any fractures, but it was still a severe ankle sprain. The team called it day-to-day, but the reality was that it threw off his whole early season rhythm. He missed multiple games and had to rebuild momentum after what should have been a tone-setting opener. Martin wasn't just another starter, he was the team's emotional center. Losing him that early messed with the Nets' chemistry. Even though this wasn't a season-ending injury, it shook the locker room. It showed how even non-contact landings can cause real damage. When the guy known for fire and toughness goes down like that, it hits deeper than the stat sheet. It messes with your core. Julius Randle. On October 28, 2014, in his very first NBA game, Randle drove to the hoop with just under 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. But as he elevated, his left leg accidentally struck his right. That little bit of contact, it caused a full fracture of his right tibia. Just like that, his rookie debut was over. The injury looked minor at first glance, but he stayed down, clearly in pain. Trainers rushed in, and the crowd at Staples Center got real quiet. He was taken for evaluation immediately, and team doctors confirmed the tibia was broken. The next day, Randle had surgery to repair the fracture. His debut season, gone. 1 game in. No comeback during the year. No learning curve. Just crutches, rehab, and a long wait. By March, he was cleared for non-contact work, and he finally returned for Summer League later in July. It was a brutal way to start a career. 1 game in, and the Lakers lost the top 10 pick for the whole year. It wasn't a highlight, it was a gut punch. That kind of injury rewrites a rookie season before it ever has a chance to begin. Sam Bowie, drafted 2nd overall in 1984. Portland took him over Michael Jordan, hoping to pair a dominant center with Clyde Drexler. But behind the scenes, Bowie was hiding leg pain he'd been feeling for years. He even admitted later that he lied during pre-draft exams, saying his leg didn't hurt when doctors tapped it. That lie followed him for the rest of his career. It started in college. A stress fracture in his left tibia led to a bone graft and cost him 2 full seasons. In Portland, the leg trouble only escalated. In his second NBA season, he broke the same leg during a rebound. Then in 1986, he fractured his right tibia while taking a simple jump shot. The bone nearly broke through the skin.
Talk about bad luck. Bro was taking a jumper and broke his tibia. It almost came through the skin. That's why you never lie, man.
Later setbacks led to a metal plate and 10 screws being inserted into his leg. He missed nearly 2 entire seasons and played just 63 games over 4 years with the team. He went through multiple surgeries and said rushing back was one of his biggest regrets. His story didn't end with banners or trophies. It became a hard lesson about fragile bodies, pressure, and the cost of hiding pain. Jayson Tatum, on May 12, 2025, during Game 4 of the Eastern Semifinals, Tatum dove for a loose ball with under 2 minutes left. There was no contact, just a sudden collapse. He grabbed his right leg and stayed down. The look on his face said everything. Trainers rushed in and a wheelchair came out. The diagnosis came fast. A ruptured right Achilles tendon, confirmed by an MRI later that night. Surgery happened the next day, performed by Dr. Martin O'Malley at the Hospital for Special Surgery. The early procedure gave hope, but the team announced Tatum would miss the rest of the playoffs and likely most of the next season too. At 27, he had age on his side, but Achilles injuries are no joke. Recovery time sits somewhere around 9 to 12 months. By late July, reports showed progress. Tatum was out of the boot, walking again, and in the gym 6 days a week. Rehab was intense, but steady. The Celtics front office praised his discipline, staying positive about a return. Still, the timing couldn't have been worse.
We know the Celtics are going to tank, and they're going to try to get a lottery pick. We already know that.
Non-contact fall at Madison Square Garden that flipped Boston's playoff run and cast a shadow on the next season. David Lee, on November 10th, 2010, in his first return to Madison Square Garden as a Warrior, Lee went up for a rebound and collided with Wilson Chandler. Chandler lost a tooth in the process, but that was just the start. A fragment of that tooth lodged itself deep inside Lee's left elbow, and yet somehow, Lee kept playing. He dropped 28 points and pulled in 10 rebounds, all while blood soaked through the wrap on his arm. After the game, things took a turn. Lee checked into the hospital with swelling and sharp pain. The elbow had ballooned to the size of a softball. Doctors found an infection caused by bacteria from the embedded tooth. It was serious enough that if antibiotics didn't work, part of his triceps might have needed to be removed. Lee needed 2 surgeries just to flush the wound properly. He said what started as a 2-day thing nearly ended his career, but somehow he returned in about 2.5 weeks and would eventually become an all-star in 2013. It was one of the weirdest injuries the league has seen, and a reminder that even teeth can threaten careers in this sport. Tyrese Halliburton, Game 7 of the 2025 NBA.
I honestly can't wait till this documentary comes out, because me and my girlfriend gonna be on that shit. But bro, this episode's probably gonna be the saddest episode. It's gonna be sad and cool because obviously we get to see the SGA side of him winning the championship and stuff like that. But for the Halliburton, this part of that episode, whatever episode is gonna be tough.
NBA Finals, first quarter. The Pacers were keeping it close when Halliburton drove the lane and suddenly collapsed without contact. He grabbed his right leg, and it was clear something serious had happened. Already playing through a calf strain, the moment he hit the floor, medical staff knew it was worse. He was helped off and didn't return. That single moment cracked Indiana's momentum. Later that night, the team confirmed the worst: a torn right Achilles tendon. The MRI left no doubt. The Pacers lost 103-91, and Halliburton's early exit was a clear turning point. He'd already hit 3 deep shots before the injury. After he left, the Pacers got outscored badly. The next day, Pacers president Kevin Pritchard announced Halliburton would miss the entire 2025 to 2026 season. The tone around the league shifted instantly. Fans were stunned. His Instagram message focused on recovery and staying strong. But it couldn't erase the fact that this injury overshadowed the biggest game of his life. The Pacers' first trip to the finals ended in heartbreak. And now their future's on pause while their star healed. Jorge Garbajosa. On March 26th, 2007, Garbajosa went up to contest a dunk by Al Jefferson, and when he landed, everything went wrong. His left leg took the full impact, twisting violently under his body. Right away, the look of it was alarming. His ankle was clearly displaced, and the lower leg had the kind of angulation that stops a game cold. Trainers didn't wait. He was stabilized and stretchered off, surrounded by stunned teammates and silence from the crowd. The diagnosis was brutal: a fractured fibula, a dislocated ankle, and serious ligament damage. It wasn't called a compound fracture publicly, but the displacement and visible deformity lined up with that kind of trauma. Surgery came quickly, and doctors initially projected about 6 months out, but the comeback wasn't clean. His return led to complications. Scans later found necrosis and a fissure in the tibia. That meant another surgery and more time on the shelf. Garbajosa had just been named to the all-rookie first team, but his NBA rise ended before it truly started. Minutes disappeared. His role shrank. Eventually, he returned.
They had Chris Bosh. That's unfortunate.
Returned to Europe, leaving behind a career that felt like it ended the second that foot hit the floor. Damian Lillard. In Game 4 of the 20-25 first round, Lillard chased down a rebound early in the first quarter. No contact, no collision, just one push off the left leg, and then he dropped. Right away, you could tell it was serious. He stayed down near the arc.
And is it crazy? And I genuinely, because bro, I don't know what is going on right now with the injury bug. But like, bro, the fact that all three of these injuries happened in the same playoffs, and then now we're getting to the NFL season. Everybody, we're so hyped to get to the NFL season. We've been pumped. And then now over half the league is injured. Superstars, role player, like over half of these rosters. We just went through earlier on a rant showing the teams that have the most injured players on their roster, and it's like insane how many of their top talents are out. Like, it's ridiculous. You said they all wear 0. Hashtag OKC Devil Magic. Nah, that's crazy. Yeah, Tatum, Halliburton, and Dame Dollar. But not even his injury, not even their injuries though. But like, there was multiple. We know, obviously, as Warriors fans, we know Steph got hurt, Jimmy got hurt. If I'm not mistaken, LeBron was playing through an injury. Like multiple people were injured throughout the playoffs, and it honestly made, in my opinion, for bad basketball, because we didn't get to see everybody at his full potential. And now with like the NFL season coming, well, not coming, but the NFL season being here, we're seeing all these injuries in the league, and it's like, bro, it's making for such bad ball. Like, yeah, we know backups are supposed to be backups, but nobody paid money to see backups. We came to see the superstars.
Clutching his left lower leg, trainers rushed in. Moments later, he was helped off, unable to put any weight on it. He left the arena in a boot, on crutches, and out of the playoffs. An MRI confirmed what everyone feared: a torn left Achilles tendon. Surgery followed on May 2nd, performed by Dr. Neil Alatrici with Dr. Carol Vetter assisting. That kicked off a 9 to 12 month recovery window. By midsummer, he was out of the boot, walking, and back in rehab, but there's still no set return date. Milwaukee's season fell apart after his exit. They lost the series, and Lillard was waived during the offseason. He later rejoined Portland, bringing his career full circle. But the injury didn't just end a playoff run, it shook a franchise and left one of the game's top guards facing a long road back from one of basketball's hardest setbacks. Rodney Hood, December 6th, 2019, just 9 minutes into a home game against the Rodney Hood, December 6th.
Rodney Hood. I can't tell you the last time I heard that name, chat. If you know, you know.
Just 9 minutes into a home game against the Lakers, Hood grabbed a rebound, pivoted up court, and collapsed with no contact. The left leg gave out. He clutched at his Achilles and stayed down, his face already telling the story. It was over. He couldn't stand, couldn't walk. Teammates watched in disbelief as he was helped off the court, limping.
Has LeBron had a major injury? He hasn't had it. This is like the name of this is like the most painful injury, NBA injuries. I know LeBron had the nose, right? Because I remember he had a face mask. I think LeBron's had like a finger, I think. LeBron hasn't had like a bad injury. When Solomon Thomas landed on his leg, he hasn't been the same since. Yeah, was he diagnosed with anything on that?
His season ending before the first quarter had even finished. The MRI confirmed what everyone feared: A torn left Achilles tendon. Surgery followed almost immediately. Head coach Terry Stotts said what no player wants to hear. It was season-ending. Hood had been in the middle of his best stretch, averaging over 11 points and hitting nearly 50% from deep. Then in one quiet moment, everything stopped. He later admitted that the moment felt like a career threat. The emotional toll hit hard. Most players used to retire after Achilles tears, but Hood turned to guys like Wesley Matthews and Kevin Durant for hope. By the end of 2020, he was rehabbing hard, eyeing a return. It was a harsh reminder that even a breakout year can vanish in a single step.